Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gearing Up. This is the podcast where we talk about everyday carry stuff. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. I am joined by Peter from Rambler Made. How you doing today, Peter?
I'm not bad at all. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. So before we get into it, I have to ask Peter, I know I've asked you this before and you said you don't care, but uh, what do you prefer?
Either. Pete, Peter, I've been called Little Pete my whole life by my family. It's just, it really
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm good with
I'm
either.
going to stick with Peter.
That's fine.
That's just in my head. That's what I've assigned. So that's where we're gonna. And I just want to. I'm just like, I want to knock it out right now, and I'll ask him, and then we'll be done.
That's very
So,
respectable of you. I appreciate that.
I always want to make sure that I don't mispronounce or anything like that, and so I always try to be cautious.
No, I'm
So
easy, man. I'm easy.
for those that don't know, I just want to jump right into a little bit of a bio about you, like who you are, what you do, and the brand that you're behind.
Sure. Sure. Well, I am Peter, as we've already established. I own a leather goods business called Rambler Made. It's been in operation for a little under a year now. And it's been an amazing experience, not only honing my craft in leather goods and sharpening those skills, but also getting to know the people such as yourself. I mean, these amazing people in this community. I'm sure you've said this a million times on your podcast, and you kind of just grow along with the members of this community, of the EDC community. And it's just baffling to see how welcoming people are, and how we can all like just promote each other to grow and all that stuff. So it's been, I mean, the reason I bring this up is because it's been more of a community growing along with just a singular business growth. So it's been really fun.
Good, good. Yeah. So I want to dive into Rambler Made and where it got started and kind of where its roots are. But before we do, so is Rambler Made something you do full time or do you still have a day job?
Still have a day job. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you don't mind sharing, what do you do on, for the 9 to 5?
So I'm a strategy director for a design firm,
Okay.
and we specialize in like a lot of packaging design, but also branding and kind of like brand messaging, any kind of like look and feel, anything that goes along with that. And I work closely with the designers and also the salespeople to ensure that we're going after industries and targets that I see are a good uh, potential growth area. So,
That's
for example,
awesome.
an area that we're working on right now and really trying to hammer is cannabis. I think that's a huge area for potential growth, both medical and recreational.
Yeah.
And so I really want to get into the ground floor with that. And so that's kind of like an area that we're pushing really hard on right now, but it's kind of a difficult area because of
Yeah.
regulations, and it shit changes every 5 minutes. So people don't
Yeah,
really
but
want to get
you're
locked
getting in at a good time.
down.
So,
That's right. Yeah.
man,
Making those contacts and stuff. Yeah.
that's great. So, and just hearing that, and I didn't know that. We've talked a little bit, but so my first question then would be, is the plan to keep doing that, or eventually you want to completely break off and work on your own, or do you like having both?
I like having both for now.
Okay.
Just because Rambler is not at the point right now where I could go full time, but there is always, that thought in the back of your head. I'm sure you have the
Sure.
similar thing, or everyone you interview has a similar thing. We'd love to do what really makes us passion, or what really kind of gives us that drive. But I think I'm really enjoying the place that I'm at right now because I'm not totally ready to leave yet. There's still a lot that I want to do at that business. And there's still just a ton to do on Rambler. And it's pretty much a two-person operation. It's just me and my wife. And
Right.
so it's a little bit difficult to put all of your attention towards one or the other. So I'm
Yeah.
just
No.
trying to figure that balance out. And we're still under a year. So I'm excited for the next year. And we have a lot
Eh,
of plans for brand new
yeah,
stuff. And it's
it's
exciting.
it's amazing, man. Just seeing what you've built, and I want to get into kind of building the brand, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck on this day job, and um, my thought is, it sounds to me just in that brief description of what you do that you've carried. Number one, you're super passionate about that type of work, about branding and connecting and just kind of making sure that all the dots line up, so to
Hmm.
speak. And you just in looking, even just scrolling through your feed, like you've brought that over to Rambler Made, and
Oh,
that
thank you.
sort of attention to detail and that sort of workflow shows in your work and in your feed. So my hats off to you for that, for
Thank you so much.
sure.
It means a lot, man.
Yeah, and I mean, you just, it's like I said, as far as like continuity goes and stuff like that. Who was I talking? It might have been Sam that I was talking to, where he was just like, you've got that sort of brand and vibe and flow
No,
really nailed down for Rambler Made. So
Sam's such a nice
it's
guy.
it's great to hear that that's like day job wise, that's also something that's connected.
Yeah, and I'd like to be a little bit more involved in the design side, and the team lets me jump in with my like kind of insight once in a while. But I'm kind of glad that I'm not fully in it all the time because it keeps me learning from them because they're really like the true experts at it, and I kind of am a sponge and absorb a lot of information, which helps because if you're in it full time, I don't know if I would want to do it as an off job,
Sure.
because you're just like there. I don't
Yeah.
know if I want
Yeah.
to take that home, but no, it's been a great experience. But thank you for saying that. That's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're
Absolutely, man.
enjoying it.
Listen, I only bring on people that I admire and that I want to gush over. And I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to my episode with Sam, but
I
I
did. I did.
felt like the whole time I was just, he and I were talking, and it sounds like I have a crush on him, which, listen, it's not totally untrue. Anyways,
No, no, he's a
uh,
gushable person. You can easily fall in love with him, not only as a creative and as an artist, but the dude is just a
he's a
super
great
nice
dude.
guy. Like,
Oh God, yeah.
if he, I wish that he was a dick because then
Right?
I would like not be obsessed with him quite so much, you know?
It's funny. He actually talked about y'all's friendship and how you guys,
Yeah,
talk pretty regularly, and so, just to go on a quick tangent, just because we got
sure.
on the subject of Sam, like, how much of an inspiration has he been in Rambler Made, and like the building of the brand and the style and the vibe and all that?
Oh, huge. I mean, I said not too long ago that it's a two-person operation, but Sam is definitely involved. I mean, we talk every single day. We share like photo ideas, photo edits, and make sure that it's like on brand with both of our stuff. So we're very much like intertwined, and he's just as much a part of the success that I have as like I put in or that Peyton put it in. He's a huge inspiration and a huge valuable player in pretty much every decision we make. So it's been a friendship that really just kind of thrived out of nowhere. I mean, I remember when he followed me, I actually was super jealous of him because I think he had 90 followers when he followed me and he started like reaching out. And then I looked at his feed and was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like who does he think he is with 90 followers crushing? I think I had like 500 at the time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he just skyrocketed, like went way past me. And then I actually got to see who Sam like really was and just this kind, very, very like driven individual. And so it kind of just flourished from there. And we just started talking every day and then released some products together and have some plans in the future to do some stuff together. So it's really turning into more of like one of those collaborations that community just gives you. And it just handed me like a really, really good friend. It's not even just like a person, it's just like he is a true, like real friend, which is really
Yeah.
cool. I never really had that before, just over like a digital. I mean, he's across the ocean.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we talked about that, and just that level of connect. Yeah, and I'm, speaking of helping design products, I have my Raven wallet here, and
Oh,
so yeah, I mean,
okay.
I'm a fan of the products you guys have put out, and when I posted yesterday about it, my post was something along the lines of like one of the most creative people in the
Mm-hmm.
community, and that's true. That holds true. I think it just in the impact that he's had in such a short time, and to go back to Rambler Made. I mean, you're telling me it's been less than a year, and in less than a year, you've built this brand. And one of the things I talked about with Sam was the brand he's built, and he was like, "Well, I don't really consider a brand." And I think that may be one of the differences between you guys is that this, to me, just in our conversation. Oh my god, I hit my mic. I'm so sorry.
Very fun.
Um, to me, in the conversations that you and I have had, it seems like Rambler Made was very intentional. I
Hmm.
mean, is that would you agree with that, or is that the
For
case?
sure.
Or I mean, walk me through, like, what did you set out to do when you got this idea for the business?
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna try to make this as brief as possible, but also tell the whole story.
No, no,
So,
we got all the time in the world, man.
all right, if you want it. So, this is actually my third or fourth Instagram account. and not one that is like complementary to the other ones. It's I made an Instagram account, hated it, deleted it, hated it, created another one, deleted it, like did that about 3 or 4 times, and
Yeah.
it turned out that I had this huge issue with kind of over comparing myself to other
Yeah.
people, and so I was never happy with what I wanted to do, and this was honestly before I knew that archiving was a thing, archiving posts,
Right.
which now you can just hide whatever post you didn't want. So that's I don't know if that existed when I was deleting them, but I didn't know about it. So I kept restarting it, and this was the one. I mean, if you go back to I think my first post on Instagram, I say like about like this is my fourth or third. I don't remember which one it was. Like Instagram, and due to over comparison, I struggled with it. But this is the one that's going to kind of like stick. And but before then, that was even before I transitioned that account into Rambler Made. And the reason it's called Rambler Made and why Rambler the term like stuck with me so much. It took a long time to find it, but it's because I'm on this like path to fulfillment, where all I want every single day is to go to bed knowing that I had like a fulfilling day. And my day to day job wasn't cutting that for me. And so it left me with a lot of anxiety ridden nights where I feel like I wasn't doing what I should be doing. Just kind of that horrible feeling inside that like, what am I doing? I'm wasting my life doing something I'm not happy doing.
Yeah.
And so what I did to try to combat that was anything. I mean, if anything made sense to me or I wanted to try anything, I'd pick it up and like just try it, learn the skill. And so that led me down like a lot of cool paths that kind of ended up being the culmination of Rambler Made. So photography was one of those. I mean, I did voice acting for a small stint, but it kind of gave me an insight into like what audio, the like power of audio was. And I haven't really
Hmm.
incorporated that yet, but we're doing it right now, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Gotta start somewhere, man.
yeah, yeah. And leatherworking actually started off from woodworking because I used to make bows, like bow and arrows,
Whoa.
just with hand tools. I got obsessed with this idea probably because I like was a huge fantasy nerd and loved Skyrim and all that stuff, and so I really wanted to make a bow. And after the second one, I decided I wanted to put like leather handle, leather grip on the bow. And once I started working with that material, it kind of just like made sense to me.
Wow.
Like it was natural. I could use all hand tools, and that was a big part. My motto of Rambler Made is hands over machines
Yeah.
because I love the process of strengthening your hands and using hand tools as opposed to machines or power tools where you can get the job done way faster, produce a lot more, but it's kind of that idea of creation versus production. And so that's kind of what led it into like making leather and why that material made so much sense. And then I just thought like this is kind of the thing that makes sense to start a business out of and just kind of get that goal of fulfillment started. So yeah.
Yeah. So was it Rambler made and then, oh, I'm gonna make leather products, or was it, I'm working with the bow and now I need to make a leather handle, and so, oh, hey, I kind of like leather. Let's call this Rambler.
Sure.
Which one came first?
So leather came first. So I didn't have the brand name when I started working on bows because that was still just kind of like a hobby thing. I thought about making bows and selling them, but then I just went against that because selling weapons to people, I mean, wooden bows can break pretty violently, and I don't want to be liable for that. That's just terrifying. And I
Sure.
wasn't nearly good enough to be able to sell them. But so I knew that when I started working with leather, I was like, okay, this is something I could definitely do. And then I started just playing around, making wallets, keychains. And then I was like, why don't I just start selling these? And so then the idea of, okay, if I want to start selling them, I want to do a brand. I mean, with my branding background at work, I just kind of wanted to exercise that and just try it and just play around and make my own kind of brand. And so it took about probably a month or a month and a half to come up with everything that I needed through a name. The name took so long. The name took
Hmm.
3 weeks to find. But then like doing the logo, like my wife hand lettered the logo because she's an incredible artist and can do hand lettering, which is insane to me that people can do that. But
Yeah.
um, and so it just kind of started building, and it turned into like just an idea, into every day turned into working a little bit at and chipping away at it until it turned into what it is today, and still making goods and coming out with some new stuff soon. And yeah,
Man.
it's all been really fun.
I one of the more fulfilling things of doing this, and this started on the blog, but eventually transitioned into doing the podcast is one of the most fulfilling things is kind of hearing not only the backstory but just the passion behind how this stuff comes to be.
Hmm.
And it's such a common feeling between all the people that I speak with that like once they found their thing, they're so passionate about it, and so it's awesome to hear how that story came to be, and that process and the time and energy and effort and heart that you've put into it, and the work and the sweat and all that. So it shows. I mean,
Well,
and
thank
like I
you.
said, in less than a year, man, you don't need me to tell you, but you're doing some really cool stuff.
I
So
appreciate that. I
yeah,
agree. I mean, I was inspired by a lot of people, and for that exact reason, it's the story. It's like
yeah,
and mine is still in its infancy, and I don't think that leather is going to be the end. I have plans to move beyond leather and do more offerings that continue like my ability to work on different skills, including like woodworking and even maybe blacksmithing in the future, and making my own set of knives. And but that's going to come. I mean, I want it to all be traditional and all handmade. And in my neighborhood right now, I don't think they'd appreciate me banging away at an anvil.
right,
So that'll come over time.
yeah,
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's that story and that journey of people. Like there's a reason why people are driven to make the decisions that they do to chase that fulfillment, and it can
yeah,
be from either trauma or you're just sick of your day to day life, or a lot of people just started off early. People who start playing guitar, start at 6 years old, and then by the time you're 18, you can do like some amazing stuff on guitar, and
yeah.
that's something that I didn't really have. I had the opportunity to do whatever I want, like I could have picked up anything, but I just didn't explore it like I want to now. So,
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting you say that because kind of same thing with me where when I was younger, I had opportunities, but it's not until I just turned 30, and now I'm finding myself really not only curious enough, but brave enough to go into hobbies and
mhm.
dig a little deeper. So yeah, man, that's great. So one of the things that I absolutely love about your account, and I love about the brand is your honesty. When it comes to posts, when it comes to your thoughts and your captions and stuff like that, and it was that something. I mean, it's I guess it's weird to say was that something you set out to do, but I'll ask it anyways. I mean, when you started Rambler Made and you started sharing stuff, was it something you intended to do to be super honest, and share a bunch of stuff, or did that kind of just happen over time, or walk me through that?
That happened over time because that was one of the hardest parts about starting the brand is how do you voice it? Because in the world that we live in, where you follow like such amazing accounts, I mean, such big accounts that already have their voice, it's really easy to just fall in line and copy because
Yeah,
you see kind of like, oh, I like his like badassness, I like his ruggedness, or like, and so it's easy to just kind of like copy and paste like a lot of the same, or put quotes as a caption and stuff like that. And the exercise to become more honest was through authenticity. And I thought that it kind of meshed with the working only with hand tools and doing all the traditional stuff because it was so therapeutic for me that I thought that this was a good opportunity kind of to kind of activate some vulnerability. It's something that I've struggled with my entire life was being vulnerable. I've always been kind of a private person, keeping the cards close to my chest. And being able to write and take pictures was actually a great medium for me to explain and for me to like kind of talk about my story and what my feelings are towards certain subjects where talking is extremely difficult for me, and like a face-to-face thing because I mean you can see the reaction of the other person, you don't want to upset them or you don't want to like embarrass yourself, but being able to take the time to write down a caption or like come up with a photo idea that helps express like feelings is a practice in vulnerability. And I think that that's something that has been really empowering because I never was. I mean, I was always taught growing up like hide your feelings, like don't cry. I think that a lot of guys kind of grow up similarly, where we
yeah,
have to like show masculinity to be able to like hold our value,
yeah,
and that's something that I like. It just didn't make sense to me, and I mean, like my wife really helped me kind of tap into that. But being really honest and authentic has led me to be able to share my feelings. And in return, you get real reactions and real responses. And It really, really, really is cool to see that people like thank you for being open because they share a lot of the same issues. And when you get to kind of connect with a stranger over something that you just kind of opened up about, and you just gave them a little bit of power because they just admitted that they have like a little bit of an issue or something like that, or and need somebody else to talk to. So then it went way beyond what I thought it would do. I thought it would just be like, oh, this is kind of cool. It kind of follows the like message of the brand, but then it became really therapeutic, and I think it's strengthened a lot of the relationships um, that I've made on Instagram and through social media too.
Yeah, and I'll say, I guess the comparison that I want to draw is to McNeese. I don't know if you've listened to the episode with Jonathan, but he and I talked about his positivity, and he just oozes almost like over the top ridiculousness, but he's just such a fun guy and so cool. And we kind of talked about that, and to me, like that's him to me. And when I started following you, and especially as we started to communicate, looking at your posts and just seeing how open you were. Yeah, number one, I mean it. You're absolutely right when you say it speaks to the brand and it's in line with the brand, because I agree. I think that it is super authentic, and it gives me that much more respect for the brand, and more respect for you.
I'm
But
glad.
at the same time, I think there's so many people that you're absolutely right don't share that kind of stuff, and instead, there's accounts that can post a picture that looks identical to something that you share, but I'm going to stop and read your caption every time, and I'm going to see what Peter's got to say. And I
I'm
think that
glad.
that says a lot about the brand and the account, and just the impact that you're having. So,
I'm glad that there are still people who read captions.
no, absolutely, man. I listen, I I struggle sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. And when I come across a super long-winded one, it's like it's usually worth it to
Yeah.
dig in and read. But I mean, we're we were built. This whole platform was built for look, move on, tap, move on.
Yep.
You got 2 seconds to get someone's attention, and it's really really difficult to like kind of communicate an entire message through that medium. I mean, you're really trying to just write, and then grab people's attention with like a really cool image that you came up with. But yeah, it's good. I'm glad that you read. So thank you. I appreciate
Yeah, and well, and I think that once you have that built, now it doesn't matter what your picture is. Like for real,
it.
I think once you have that sort of rapport built with the people that are following along, it doesn't matter what you post.
It's
Now
true.
I know that Peter's going to drop some truth on me every time he posts, or not every time, right? But on a lot of posts, and so I'll go in and look, and I'll see what you've got to say. And you're absolutely right in that a lot of times it just resonates because I'm feeling the same way, or I've gone through the same thing. And hey, now I know that this guy, I'm not crazy, I'm not abnormal, right? This is more normal.
Right.
And yeah, I mean it's good to see that stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I had to call that out. That was something that,
Thank you.
like,
Yeah.
I absolutely want. I have it in my notes like three different times. I'm like, so let's talk about honesty and all that stuff.
I'll talk about that all day, man. I think that we need more of it. I think that especially on the platform that both of us exist on, Instagram, like it's very commonly said that it's just the best parts of every person's life. It's just those
Yeah,
snapshots, and there's no negativity, and like we need more failed shots of stuff, and like a lot more of those failed processes or what people are thinking and why they struggled with something because
no
we
doubt.
really don't, especially in our industry or in our community. I think that that's a way we can grow. We just take pictures of knives and stuff, but we can start communicating our feelings through, or what we like, what we feel about a certain subject through those knife pictures. It doesn't all just have to be showing off what we got.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that there's one of the things I've talked about sort of recently is just this new wave of hyper talented photographers that have kind of found this area that hey, I kind of jive with that,
Mm-hmm.
and they're bringing a lot of personality. And so I'm hoping that in bringing this new wave of this new crop of talent in, that they're gonna take note of accounts like yours and Sam's, and anybody that's trying to keep it real. Like, I don't know, I like to see that, and I want to see more of it. So
For sure.
I
Well,
hope
it helps grow connections, man. When you tell people about what you're struggling with and they can find a common connection, it's way more than, like it's so easy to just say, yeah, I'm doing good. Like, I'm doing fine. COVID's been fine. Quarantine's been fine, but it hasn't. I mean, everyone's struggling in their own way. And
Yeah.
I think that like when we get comfortable talking about our struggles and publicly and even like with each other privately, like that's the only way you can grow relationships is no one's growing by hiding.
Yeah. No, that's a great point there. I like that. I'm gonna hang on to that.
Mm.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about. Well, we've kind of already hit on this, but I have two words written down, and I think I got this idea from Sam. And I keep referencing him. I'm sorry, but
Oh,
I
okay.
have the words branding genius written down with underlines, and so what what drove you to so some context. So when I look at your feed, Rambler Mate, for those, and I don't even know that I've mentioned your handle yet, but if you search Rambler Mate on Instagram, you'll find him. But it's Rambler.made. And when I look at your feed, there's not a single picture that looks out of place. Everything fits, everything flows. I can tell those are all pictures you took, which is not crazy. I think there's a bunch of feeds that are cohesive like that, but I can tell that they are all you and your style. And anyways, I'm gushing again. Sorry
No,
about
you're
that.
fine. You're fine.
But that's one thing that Sam mentioned is he said, he is everything is so on brand, and everything's got that same vibe. And so I guess my question or my point was, you now knowing your day job, and that branding plays a huge role, and I see the incredible work you've done with Rambler Made. Like, where did that love of branding start, and where did that like talent start to come from? You know what I mean?
Um, I think the love for branding actually started as just an opportunity, especially when I started thinking about like if I want to start my own business or want to start making stuff and selling it to people. Only because branding is a fantastic way for you to market yourself. There are a lot of brands out there that make consumer products and make like produce goods that easily have competitors. They can come out with the exact same thing. One like I'm thinking this is a terrible example, but like one gold coin could look the same as another gold coin. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the design, it's the branding that makes it different. And that's one thing that stuck with me is that you're yourself, and if you can kind of target in on everything that like about yourself and that you like about yourself, and then communicate that to an audience, then there's nobody that can copy you
Yeah.
because there is no one like me. There's no one like you, Greg. I mean, we're individuals. So if you can market yourself to your strengths and what you're super interested in, it's an easy way to become differentiated from all the other leather workers out there. And so I saw a lot of that. The issue, it's kind of like a blessing and a curse because I love that you say that and that it looks so cohesive, and that's by design. I mean, when I first started the brand, I like wrote down what the look and feel was going to be. Um, let me see if I can pull up the notes for it, but I still have it. But it kind of just gave me like an idea. Okay, so here we go. The look and feel was dark contrast, rugged, grungy, simple, textured, and no nonsense. Um, and so
Yeah.
that was
I mean, I
that was
can
one of
see
the first
that.
that's one of the first notes that I ever made when I started thinking about the brand even before the name came out. And because I knew that I just wanted like this idea and like how I perceive the world. Like not that this is not my like full life, but if
Right.
I want to like try to sell goods like to a certain audience, like I know that this is kind of the audience that I want. And so you kind of like design those pictures to the audience that you want. And all I ever wanted was cool people to carry my stuff.
Yeah.
And so then it turned out to like so thank you for saying that. That's awesome. I'm glad everything looks cohesive, but
Yes.
it's planned. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
No. And that's the thing is that it looks intentional, and that's not a that's not a negative thing at all. I think it's done well, and it's done intentionally, and it's very well executed. So
oh, thank you. Yeah,
um,
there's a little like another side of me that wants to just like post stuff that doesn't fit at all, just kind of to break the glass and kind of
right.
kind of just switch it up and stuff. But it would kind of go against that whole branding thing, and I do enjoy it. It's just sometimes you kind of get stuck a little bit, and I mean, if you look at my feet, I have like the color scheme is there. I mean,
Mhm.
you can easily see it's because it's all natural. I mean, it's leather, wood, steel, um, sometimes paper, but
Mhm.
but a lot of it is just like those natural materials, and it all ends up looking brown, which is
Yeah.
okay. but, but that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like I said, when it's done well, it's awesome, and it's
Oh, thank
definitely
you.
done well. So, one of and the reason to me that that was such an important call out and why I wanted to talk about that is you alluded to it. There, you chose leather, and if there's plenty of anything in the everyday carry community, it's folks that work with leather, and that's not a jab at anyone. I mean, all the folks that I've worked with are great, and there's a ton of talent. And so I think I guess what my point is you have not just taken your craft and made it really good, because a lot of people have really good products, but you have taken that brand, just like you were saying, like the coins could be the same, but the design and the branding behind it, um, make one a little bit more favorable or whatever. And
Mhm.
so, I guess what I'm getting at is not only do you took a great product, but you built a really great brand behind it, and because of that, I think you're seeing success, and you're able to. I know you talked about branching out and doing more than leather, and I think you have built a really great avenue for yourself to do that kind of thing.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Yeah, I think that yeah that's what I was going to explain is kind of like the curse of it. And it's funny because I talked to Sam about this like months and months ago, but he suggested because we commonly ask him like I ask him once every like 4 months or something like that, like what could I be doing better, just to like have him challenge me a little bit.
yeah.
And I think one of the things he said was you should start posting more like knives with your leather goods in almost every post. Like Hitchin Timber. Like he's
Mhm.
very good at that. That's like his brand is he has a very, very strong look that has his leather goods along with the gear that he carries.
Mhm.
Um, and I like just responded and I was like, I don't like that at all. Like, I don't like this is not like a knock on anybody who does it
Sure.
because you get way more success and way more growth that if you do like very similar things every time. Like if you look at a lot of other leather makers, you see like flat lays of their goods, like finished or unfinished, but it's usually like similar backgrounds,
Mhm.
all the same color, and it's always wallets. It's always like journals or anything that they're making. And very rarely do they branch off and like show anything other than leather goods. And
Mhm.
that's a great way to grow like fast because you get people just interested in the products and like what you're going to like release next. And so you just get that image burned in their head
Mhm.
of like, this is clearly a low tide leather or an Oak City leather, like all
Mhm.
these other makers. But I didn't want to kind of stranglehold myself into just being like a leather goods because I knew from the beginning it was going to go beyond that. And I don't want to just like have a feed full of leather goods because like we talked about earlier, like I want to talk about stuff that's like bugging me or like changes that happen in the world or even how I'm feeling dealing like running a business and like making stuff and coming with prototypes and I hate making prototypes and I want to be able to talk about that,
Yeah.
and I think that having the freedom to be able to like switch up the content allows me to like be free with the messaging that I want to portray too.
Yeah. I mean, you've nailed that. I was just scrolling through your feed, listening along, and I was thinking, man, you could tell me that you sold vinyl records, and
Maybe
I'd be like, yep, he does.
that's on the menu in the future, who knows?
You've got, again, your feed is you're absolutely right. It's not like, yes, your products are shown. Not every picture is a product picture. Thank you for that, by the way.
You
It's
said that.
refreshing, but at the same time, like, it's done very tastefully. And so, again, not to gush on you, but like the feed itself, it seems like it serves more of a purpose than just a showcase of your products. And I think that that's important. And again, one of the strengths of the brand you've built. So, again, props. I don't know
Thank
if
you,
we're
thank
keeping count of how many times I have complimented you, but it's
Oh,
going to
this is like
continue to
the nicest
happen.
interview I've ever had. All my other interviews are usually like a scenario or something. This is good.
Listen, this is gearing up. You can find it on iTunes or
Yeah,
no.
right. Plug it now.
um,
Plug it now.
no, no, no. So, okay, so one of the things, and again, I'm just kind of going through my notes, so bear with me here. But you said prototypes and making and stuff like that, and we've actually had this discussion before when I um, picked up your journal cover, the tracker, is it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, we talked about the design and how well thought out it was.
Mhm.
And so not only do you have these executions where the product is great, they're also very well thought out. They're very well, and I even told you I was surprised at how much I liked the Raven. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, but then I got it in hand, and now I absolutely love tossing this thing in my pocket.
I
Um,
wasn't so sure how I would like the Raven either. So
yeah,
if that
it's
makes
it's
you feel any
weird,
better.
right?
Well,
No,
that's
it definitely does. It's not anything like I've ever carried before.
there's something super scary about prototyping and releasing a good, just
Hmm.
because, um, like with the tracker, I knew it was going to be good because I had a journal cover, and like we explain, I'll explain it again, but they had a pen loop on the left side of the journal cover. So if you flipped the page over and you wanted to write on the left side of the notebook, you were interfering with the pen loop that was there. And so immediately I was like, did this guy who made this ever use his product? Because like you can't write on the left side of the notebook, it renders it
Hmm.
completely useless. And so immediately I knew that I wanted to make a journal cover that you could tuck the page under so it could lay flat and you can write on both sides pretty freely. With the Raven, Sam came to me and said, "Hey, I hate my wallet. I want to make a custom one." And kind of just like we built it a little bit together. We went through a couple, like probably 6 designs of like just messing with different features of it. But then when I came up with the final design and I sent it to him, I had no idea what he would think because he had specific things. Like he wanted to be able to hold coins in the back because he's in Germany, so they still use like euro coins. And that's something that a lot of people don't put in their wallets in America. We don't put change in our wallets
Right.
too frequently. But but he said he loved it like immediately, and that made me extremely happy. But then we did the full release of it, like to open to the public. It was still terrifying because like, is a European wallet going to be able to transfer to like an American market? And there's just always that unknown, and that's kind of why I hate prototyping. Is I've had goods that just completely tanked, and like they don't sell. Nobody like likes them, or nobody like wants to buy them. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
But it's just like,
Well, and I think you've learned from that because I mean, let's talk about your next release, the phone slips.
mhm.
You have been back and forth on the story, getting feedback, talking about your experience, talking about the prototyping and testing process, and listening to the people that are following along that are supporting you. So, like I said, I think you've learned from that, and now you're implementing some change because of it.
Let me just say to anyone who's listening, thank you eternally for your patience and my inability to release prototypes quickly because it does. It's just, I feel like that phone slip has been on the back of my mind for like 3 months. And like with that one, I wanted it to be felt line because I loved the idea of it having a felt liner on the inside because
Hmm.
it just felt really good. It almost like cleaned your screen when you pulled it out. It just like, it was a huge win. And I thought that it would just like be a stellar product. And then every time I built a prototype of it, the felt just started delaminating from it, and I was like semi crushed because the whole idea was that is just a the whole idea was that it was felt, like, and it was just this nice like piece of material. So I thought that there wasn't a product anymore if there wasn't any felt until I posted a couple times ago. It was just like, okay, I want to revisit this and want to get your guys' feedback on what if it didn't have felt, and it got like an overwhelmingly positive response of we don't care,
Yeah.
like we just want, but really it's just a rectangle folded in half,
Right.
but it's the product that people want. And I get way too in my head about like it has to be this perfect product when really
Sure.
it turns out that people just want like the most simplistic ones. And that's a good learning experience. Like you said, I did learn from that. And now that's dropping tomorrow, so I'm excited
Shout
to like,
out.
yeah, I'm excited to have a new offering on the site because they come pretty slow, but it's always pretty
Yeah.
rewarding.
So I wanted to talk about that. I mean, when uh you've got the rabbit, which is the key fob.
Mhm.
You've got the Raven, which is the slim wallet, sort of fold over flap. You've got
Yep.
the tracker, which is the journal cover. I know I'm missing one, the
Scout.
minimalist wallet. Yeah, the
Yep.
Scout.
Mhm.
And now you'll have the phone cover, the phone slip. I mean, was it always your I mean, I'm sure it's just product of the process, right? And like we said, testing and prototyping and really putting it through the ringer. But was it your intention to slowly roll out a line just so you could kind of keep up and you could try new things, or I mean, are you continuing to expand?
I don't know. I think it's like I would love to be able to release products faster, um, because there are people that have been waiting for the slip for a while, and every time I post about it, they ask me like when it's going to be available, and I always feel bad that like they've been so patient, like waiting. But I don't know. It's like you can't force. Like what I've learned as being a maker is you can't force it. If I sit down to like watch a movie with my wife, and the entire time I'm thinking, God, you could be working on the slip right now. Like you could be working on the business right now, and that's like a daily thing for me. And I've had to learn to shut that voice off because I get burnt out super fast, and then I put the project away because I don't even want to work on it because it's not fun anymore.
Yeah,
So I would love to like have that ability to release products really fast because I have a lot that I want to do. But I think that if I did that, it would be kind of a detriment to the entire like project, and that's
yeah,
really what this is. I mean, it's an art project. Like that's this isn't
that's
like
exactly what this podcast
right.
is.
Yeah, exactly. The Instagram feed is not my life.
Yeah,
Like I may like do some cool stuff in them and like chop wood and like I do that on weekends, but like I don't like look like this all the time. I'm not
right.
constantly in a state of serious like intense focus like making these goods and stuff. But yeah, so
Oh,
I would like to get to the point where I could become a little bit speedier at it, but I don't know. I'm kind of just enjoying the growth that I have right now and kind of the pace that I'm at.
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great personally. I think there are so many makers that focus way too much on what's hot right now. Let me drop it and go and drop it and go. You know,
Right.
I won't. I don't want to call anybody out, but I will say that there is a brand whose product I pre-ordered, and since then they've come out with a few variations of a few different products, and all the while I'm sitting around waiting. Wait, what about the one that like I still have?
Right.
And
Okay. Yeah.
it's still it's almost July 1st, and it's still like a month and a half out, and
Oh,
so to me, I'm okay with that, because I think that it's good to really have a focus and really, not that I think you should stay in your lane, but I think it's good to stay in your lane, right? You know what I mean? Like, you have built a really great, and the fact that I was able to name most of your line, like
yeah.
that to me
Oh,
is like
congrats.
again brand wise, like just crushing it. So.
Oh,
Uh,
and you're just a good friend, I guess.
Well, yeah,
Great
no, I
maker.
mean, listen, I support the folks that put out good products and are cool people, and that's even before the podcast and the website and all that stuff. Like that was always my goal was to support the folks that deserve that deserve support, and so
Yeah, you're very good at that.
yeah, I mean
Yeah, you're always in support of others. I really like that, bro.
that's what I try to do, man, and I think there's just two, and again, there's a ton of leather makers out there, and I have a few more lined up,
Mhm.
just because what they do is great, but again, I can't put you in that same category because I
Mhm.
feel like there's just so much more that's just kind of bursting at the seams to get out. So,
Sure,
uh,
and I think that it's like one other important thing is it's like if I were to like speed up production, it seems like I wouldn't really be doing it for myself anymore. And now I'd just like if I wanted to speed up production, I'd buy a clicker press and I'd buy a
right,
sewing machine because like at that point I would just want to make money. That's
yeah,
and that's not that again. That's not a knock on any other maker, but
sure.
like I'm not really doing this for the job aspect. I'm doing it because it's a challenge for myself, and I really like enjoy the personal growth that comes along with it. And that means that it's going to be a lot slower at releasing stuff, but I don't think it's worth sacrificing to just start producing instead of creating.
So that reminds me of so I did an episode a little while back with Chris Daigle Knives, and Chris is a jokester. He's super fun to chat with.
Mhm.
And the thing that I really took away from that chat with him was he is a knife maker, but he also has a day job, and he has a he likes it. And the thing that he said to me, because I asked him, I was like, hey, because he's not 20. I won't say he's not young, and I won't say he's old, but Chris is well established in his career. He's well established as a knife maker. And I asked him, hey, is there any plan at some point to become full time? And he said, no. He said, I don't want to have to keep I don't keep books because I don't want to have to, lock in 15 orders and make the same knife 15 times. And he said I
Yeah,
I don't want it to ever not be what I want to do.
very
And
well.
and that sounds a lot like where you're coming from too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And props to him, honestly. Like, I think that we live in a world now, and I'm definitely guilty of this, where like entrepreneurship is really sexy, and I
Yeah.
think that like everyone wants to start their own brand or their own business, and it's easy to get caught up in that world. And some people, and I'm really including myself in this because I'm not nearly at that point to take it full time, but some people just like aren't ready or aren't like meant for that yet, and so they just jump in with like both feet and burn out super fast. And it's really
Mhm.
sad to see that a lot of these people who have potential just burn out so fast because you just made it into way more and put way too much pressure on yourself, then instead of just taking the time to really understand why you're doing it and what enjoyment you get out of it that will lead to later success. And I'm still in that path. Like, I'm every day I'll always be on that until I deem myself an expert, which will probably be
Yeah.
never. I'll always just think that I need to look inward and really make sure that this is still making me happy.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that they they say do what you love and you never work a day in your life, which is like to me is like the biggest lie in the world because I
Yeah,
love doing
totally.
this, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Like, but it's work that you enjoy more than something that's like mundane and you
Yeah,
despise.
it's
Like,
fulfilling for
right,
sure.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and if it
and
ever gets away from that, that's when like you gotta pump the brakes, right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's all it is, man. I think that that's the entire goal is just fulfillment because like the hard work is still hard work, but if you enjoy doing it enough to where you feel fulfilled and not beaten down at the end of the day, then I think that's the important difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm chasing. So,
So one quick question on like you production wise and lineup wise. One of the questions that I had that I'd written down this idea, and I've done a whole episode on the idea of the drop, right? So I wanted to get your thoughts branding wise, and not just branding wise, specifically for Rambler Made or other brands you see doing it. What are your thoughts on folks that do drops versus folks that keep regular stock, or at least keep orders rolling in? Like, is that
if you can do it, then it's strong, it's so strong because you keep that want. I mean, you keep that
yeah,
desire always. And every time you post, people are like, what's new? And if you can harness that kind of power, it's extremely valuable. That being said, it's exhausting. I mean, I can't imagine like doing that. The amount of work that goes into like a drop. I mean, like the person who I see doing it most recently is like Peter McKinnon with
yeah,
his like Pirate Life drop, and I can't imagine how he prioritizes his goals. I mean, like from doing the YouTube thing to running his Peter McKinnon account and doing the brand deals that he does to doing Pete's Pirate Life and doing these drops. I mean, I don't know how he's not crippled by all the options and all the to-do lists that goes on. I know he has some people working for him and that help out, but like if you can harness it, I think it's extremely powerful.
yeah. There's a lot of accounts that I follow that try to rely on this drop, and yeah, I mean when it's done well, again, it's great. And yeah, I mean, Pete's Pyre Life's a great example. Most recently, Sam dropped his coin and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sold it out in 5 minutes and did
that's
a great
crazy.
job of building hype around it. And yeah, I just like I said, not that not that I'm wondering why Rambler Made doesn't do that. I like that you don't. Thank you, by
Yeah,
the way.
I do too.
But just like I said, from a branding perspective, I just wanted to hear your 2 cents on that idea.
Yeah, I think I really do think it's powerful. I think that you have to be a pretty creative person, but you have to like keep it alive, and that's the hardest part. Is that I mean, like if you take Pete's Pirate Life, or the latest one, I mean, he did that V2 like Kraken coin, Kraken. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah,
And then he did the black one with totally different packaging.
I got one of
With
those.
you did? Oh,
Yeah.
very nice. There you
I'm
go.
stoked, man. It's
Very
gonna
cool.
be here in a couple days.
Right, but the first one he did had, like, a puzzle box and, like, it was packaged. I mean, his branding is flawless because he just thinks about every step of the opening process. When
Bro, that
somebody gets
packaging
it,
is
it's
next level.
experience. It's an experience. It's an experience from the moment that he, like, starts teasing an idea with, like,
Mhm.
that quarter macro shot of a coin and get
Mhm.
that hype going to the point where people receive it and they still have a challenge to open it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an experience for anybody, and then you become instantly binded to that item,
Yeah.
and then you want to feature it in your like posts because it's now like a huge part of you. It's brilliant. But but that black one, yeah, you have to take a screwdriver to it to get it undone in a waterlocked box. I
I'm
mean,
so
and
excited.
it's different. It's not the same box. It's not the same wooden box colored black, but you're excited because like it like instills that like feeling of adventure.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to do something once you get it. It's not just ripping a box open and then taking out of like a plastic package. And that opening experience is really strong.
It's next
Um,
level.
but like that's just raw creativity and always challenging yourself to what could we do different, what could we do better, and thinking beyond just the initial like I want to make a coin.
Yeah.
You know,
God, it's exhausting.
yeah, it is. And I don't have the mental capacity to do that, but like I love seeing it. I think it's such a cool exercise.
Yeah. So what's next? I mean, as far as what you'll share, I mean, are you working on any other collaborations? What's next? Obviously the phone slip is coming out, but is there anything else you feel like sharing?
Yeah, I got the phone slips coming out, so I'm announcing that tomorrow. I don't know when this will be aired, but that's happening tomorrow. And
Uh-huh.
then I have a bifold to do,
Yeah,
and
I've
then
seen. Oh man.
I've teased it
Yeah.
a couple times, or like just explained it. And I have all the materials to start getting that. So once the phone slip is on the site, then I'm gonna start working on that for the next like 2 weeks and get that up on the site and launch. But even that in itself is it's a lot of time because you have to make it in every color, then figure out a way to photograph it, and then put it on
Mhm.
the site and then promote it. So there's a lot of at least like for me a week's worth of work. For other
Sure.
people it'd be much shorter. But then after that, I think that I'm going to take a pause on the leather goods for a while
Yeah.
and focus on hand painted flags. So like I said,
Nice.
yeah. So like I said earlier in the discussion, my wife is very good at hand lettering, and so we kind of want to do a series of hand painted flags that are just canvas flags with acrylic paint, that'll just kind of have designs that she and I come up with.
Dude,
So she'll do the lettering from it and
sounds
the
so
painting.
badass.
And I really want to bring her style more into the picture because
Yeah,
she's
she's
she's been doing
talented.
yeah, and she's been doing a lot of the photography for me too.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
like I'll usually do the editing, but she always helps me shoot and helps me come up with ideas. So I kind of want to tap into more of her like handiwork and see if, uh, see kind of her grow in that and challenge her. And but I think that people are really gonna like the hand painted flags. It just goes along with it too. But
Yeah,
that's just
total
my
total
brand.
like sidetrack, but going through your account, if folks scroll back, like you're quite the doodler. Like you've
Thank
got you've got some skills with these black and white drawings that are really cool. So that I mean, are you going to use these hand painted flags as a way to kind of expand on that talent?
exactly. Yep. And I feel like I mean I've been drawing since I was a kid, but never like enough. I always when people always ask about drawing, I always say like I don't do it enough, and that is the exercise is coming up with new designs and challenging that area of and growing that skill because I really miss drawing. I like the medium and I like the expression that comes along with it, and so I'm excited to kind of get back into that because kind of like what you said earlier. I mean, when people start making like knives and you start making the same knife over and over again, it kind of becomes mundane, and that's kind of like where the leather goods are right now.
Yeah.
I love when I get orders, and still love the work, but it's kind of like fun to try a different medium and then like make that another offering. It's the first offering that's not just leather, so it's kind of an expansion of the brand on its own. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean that's I love it. I'm in for a flag. I definitely want to see what you guys put out. I love the
Nice.
idea, and it's when you think about it, I don't know if anybody else is doing anything like that. So it really is. It's definitely in your lane. It's still on brand, but it's one of those things that nobody else is really doing. So
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
cool to hear.
Yeah.
So I've decided that every podcast moving forward, if I'm working with someone, um, obviously if April's co-hosting, I'm not going to ask her this every single time. Maybe I will, who knows. But I wanted to end with just a simple question. It could be something we've already touched on, it could be something totally and completely unrelated, but I just want to know, what are you excited about?
Sure. Sure. Um, I've seen like what you said with all the photographers that are coming in, and I think that you said this in Sam's podcast, but it's been kind of a change from just guys taking pictures of gear to more photographers trying to come up with more creative ways.
Yeah.
And while that's really cool, and I love seeing that expression, I'd love to see more and more people um, like start expressing their feelings and kind of like get more in depth and a little more vulnerable. I mean, we saw that you actually inspired me to come out and talk more when protests started and when Black Lives Matter started back up. And
Yeah.
I mean, after George Floyd's death, and you kind of like, for me at least, in my followers, you were the first one to kind of speak up, and you gave me a lot of courage to do that too.
That is all I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think that that is going to be something that happens. I mean, Tom was huge in that too. For Notorious EDC, I mean, he
Yeah.
made that video, and it sparked a lot of change to happen. I'd like to see us. I'm excited at the prospect of us getting a little bit more away from our gear and start becoming a little more outspoken about our individuality and where
Yeah.
we want to see the community grow. And that comes with adding more women to the community and seeing and boosting women in the community and people of color and Black people, and like seeing more just more individuality
Hell
come
yeah.
out, and just because everything's better, nothing's better when or nothing is good when everyone's the same. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We need to have that diversity that really
I'm
promotes the growth of the entire
I'm
community.
for it, man. And
Yeah.
not to, toot my horn. That's, and it's great that you say that, and that, again, was sort of the intention. Um, I kind of, again, I'll be honest, I took a page from you and just kind of started writing, and I didn't actually write in my notebook. I was actually writing in my notes app.
Mhm.
And I went back and forth with this idea for a long time, and I think I ended it, and I ended up posting it in my story, but I think I ended it with something. I'm a grown ass man, and I got two kids, and I got to make sure that they understand that it's not enough to just think or feel a certain way. Like you got to let it be known, and so
Absolutely. I
I
mean,
wanted to post it up, and the idea was if I can get one person, to speak up, I guess it worked. And
we did absolutely.
and in addition to that, it was amazing the amount of support. There was almost no backlash, right? Tom and I talk pretty regularly too, and he said, there's your usual trolls, and there's those people that, this guy or that guy, or I got this many unfollows or whatever, but overwhelmingly just the support was there, and it was insane, man.
Yeah,
And
that's what we
so
need to focus on too. Is that like when I made my post about it, I had a couple people like come out and say stuff against it, but like the support and the positivity surrounding it was way more overwhelming. And it's easy to get shadowed by the negativity, but it's
the
more important to
negativity's loud.
refocus. Yeah, it's so loud, and it sticks
Yeah.
because it's disappointing. It like angers you, but it's more important to realize that more people are on your side than
Hell
we
yeah.
thought. And that was the biggest thing for me is I had no idea. I was fully
Yeah.
expecting to get thrashed by everybody because, like I said, this,
Yes.
this is a community that never did this. This is
Yeah.
this is new, and I'm excited to see that continue
Yeah.
because I don't want it to fall by the wayside. I know that we all have a lot of us have that privilege to be able to shut off politics and shut off the goings on of the world
Mhm.
and kind of like retreat back into our knives and our gear and it's comfort. But
Yeah.
I think we need to become comfortable with getting a little bit more uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's important.
It is.
Oh, man. Truth, I'm pumped, I'm motivated. I want to go rebrand everything on my page, and I'm going to notate everything in my tracker. Anyways, no, Peter, you have been an amazing guest. I've
Same.
absolutely loved picking your brain about branding and Rambler Made and all of that stuff, and I can't thank you enough for jumping on, man.
Thank you. This is awesome. This is a really fun experience. I hope to be a guest again someday.
Yeah, I'm so I was talking to somebody, God, and it's not important, but I was talking to someone, and I have this idea, and I'll share it here. And if you guys are listening to this, come back and let me know if you think it's a good idea. But I want to put together a round table, so we can do this same kind of remote chat, but have, like, I don't know, 5 people on or 6 people on, and just do kind of a roundtable discussion of everyday carry stuff, the community, what's going on, all of that stuff. Um,
Knives of the Round Table.
yeah, something something like that. Yes, yes. Um, so
That'd be cool.
that's kind of in my back pocket. I'm gonna. Or the thing is if I'm gonna do it, I gotta moderate it, and if I'm gonna, I gotta make sure that I have enough content and I don't ramble and all that. So we'll get
Support.
there.
We'll get there.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you. If you guys aren't already following Peter, be sure you go do that. It's Rambler Made on Instagram, and go check out his products and his lineup, and show him some support, whether it's a like or a comment or a follow, or again, grabbing one of the or many of the products from his lineup. I can't recommend him enough. He's a super cool dude, and the brand is just insane. So
I'm
get
humbled.
him.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you're not already, be sure you hit that subscribe button, jump into iTunes or Google Play or Spotify, leave a rating, leave a review, let people know what you like. And then one thing you guys did amazing with on the last interview I did was sharing it to your stories. I'm still getting notifications. So if you guys can jump on and share this to your story, tell your friends to go check it out. This is how we grow, and this is how I continue to get really cool guests on. So thank you guys again for the continued support. Peter, thank you for jumping on, and we'll talk very soon, man.
We will.
All right, thanks guys. Peace.